a second tent appeared overnight. I don't tell this story in person anymore. Not because I'm scared people won't believe me. I honestly don't care if they do. It's more that saying it out loud does something to me, like it calls something back. Anyway, this happened 2 summers ago. Late August. Me and my girlfriend Kenzie were doing a road trip through Washington, hitting the Cascades, camping mostly, bouncing between cheap Airbnbs when we needed a shower or a mattress that didn't smell like feet. It was her idea, really. She's the outdoorsy one, REI junkie, Patagonia stickers on her Nalgene, all that. Me? I'm more of a beer and backyard kind of guy, but I loved her. And it wasn't like I had anything better to do that summer. We'd already done North Cascades National Park and Baker Lake, but our last stop was a little-known area near Lake Wenatchee, kind of off the tourist radar. Kenzie found it through some backpacking subreddit, a secret spot apparently. No campgrounds, no cell service, no signage. Just a winding forest road and a patch of open forest by a creek. She liked that kind of thing. The more remote, the better. Me, I just nodded and kept the truck running. It took us 3 hours from the nearest gas station, dodging potholes and guessing which turn to take when the trail split. By the time we parked, the sun was already sinking through the trees, casting everything in that orange twilight glow that looks pretty in pictures, but makes your skin crawl in person. We set up quick our Costco tent, her little jet boil stove, the bear bag up in the tree like she taught me. There was no one else out there, no other cars, no lights, just us and the trees and the creek murmuring nearby, like it was trying to tell us something we didn't want to hear. I remember that night clearly, because it started off perfect. Kenzie made dehydrated chili mac that didn't taste like crap for once. We laid out on the foam pads and watched the stars. She fell asleep halfway through some podcast, and I just laid there listening to her breathe, thinking how lucky I was, how alive I felt out there. Even though I hated the damn bugs and the cold, and not being able to shit without squatting like a raccoon, I should have felt safe, but I didn't. I remember waking up sometime after midnight, just snapped awake, like someone had poked me in the ribs. Kenzie was still asleep beside me, breathing slow. The forest was too quiet, like weirdly quiet. I couldn't hear the creek anymore, and that had been pretty loud earlier. No wind, no crickets, just a thick, wet silence, like the trees were holding their breath. I sat up, rubbed my eyes. I thought maybe it was a dream, but then I heard something. Crunch, crunch, like boots on dead leaves. Not close, maybe 30 feet away, just past where our fire had died out. I froze. My heart started pounding so loud I swore whoever was out there could hear it. I grabbed my little flashlight and clicked it on, aiming it toward the sound. Just trees. Trees and darkness. I waited. Nothing. I told myself it was a deer. A raccoon. Some late-night critter doing critter things. But the next morning, there was a second tent. I swear to God, it was maybe 20 yards away, right between 2 big fir trees. One of those older dome-style ones, green and beige, with duct tape across one side, like it had been patched up. We didn't hear it go up. No footsteps, no zippers, no talking. Nothing. Kenzie was as freaked out as I was when she saw it. I remember her standing there, toothbrush still in her mouth, staring at it with foam dripping down her chin. She didn't say anything for like 30 seconds. Then she spat in the dirt and said, "They must have come in late." "Did you hear anything?" I asked. She shook her head, looked pale. We waited for someone to come out. No one did. 8 a.m. became 9, then 10. We talked loudly, made extra noise like we were trying to signal that, hey, we're friendly, we're normal. Just a couple enjoying the woods. Nothing weird going on here. But nothing moved in that damn tent. Eventually, we decided to go for a hike. We didn't want to sit around and stare at it all day. Kenzie left a note on a granola bar wrapper and stuck it under a rock near the second tent. Something like, "Hey, just saying hi. We're the camp next door." I remember how forced the smiley face looked when she drew it. We were gone maybe 5 hours. Hiked up to a ridgeline where we got a little bit of cell service and posted a photo. Had lunch. Laughed. Even. Almost forgot about it. But when we got back, the note was gone. The granola bar was still there. Untouched. But the wrapper with her handwriting gone. I asked if maybe the wind blew it away, but we both knew it hadn't been windy. We checked around the tent. No footprints, no gear, no sign of life. The second tent just sat there like a rotting tooth in the forest. And that night I saw someone standing by our fire pit. Just standing there. In the dark. Not moving. Kenzie was asleep again. I'd stayed up, couldn't relax. I had a little fire going and was sipping whiskey out of my metal cup, trying to ignore the weight in my gut. I looked up and just saw them. No flashlight, no face I could see. Just the silhouette of someone in a hooded jacket, facing the fire pit, like they were waiting for something. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. And then I swear on my life, they turned and walked back to the second tent. The zipper never opened. They didn't go inside. They just disappeared behind it. And I didn't sleep a second that night. I didn't tell Kenzie what I saw that night. I almost did. When the sun finally started cutting through the trees like a scalpel and made everything feel less evil. But I couldn't make myself say it. Saying it would make it real, and I was still half convinced that maybe I imagined it. Maybe the whiskey got to me. Maybe it was a shadow or a weird tree stump. My brain was doing backflips trying to rationalize it, but I didn't sleep. Not even a second. I just sat there, wrapped in my sleeping bag, staring at that second tent like it might start breathing. Kenzie noticed. She was brushing her hair out on a rock near the creek when she looked over and said, "You look like shit." I mumbled something about raccoons getting into our bear bag. She shrugged it off, but she was uneasy. I could feel it in the way she kept glancing over at the other tent while she made breakfast. Usually she hummed when she cooked. Not that morning. No one came out of the second tent. Again. It had been over 24 hours since it appeared. 2 full days, and not a single zipper sound, not a cough, not a shift of fabric. Not even a shadow inside the walls of the tent. By noon, Kenzie had enough. "I'm going over there," she said, slapping the lid on the pot of oatmeal. "This is just too weird. What if someone's hurt?" I told her no. I don't know why. I just blurted it out. "Don't." She gave me this look, not annoyed, but cautious. Like she wasn't sure if I was joking or having a breakdown. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You saw something, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She walked over anyway. I stood a few steps behind her, hands in my jacket pockets, heart trying to crawl up my throat. The leaves crunched under her boots, that same exact sound I'd heard 2 nights before. She stopped about 5 feet from the tent. "Hello?" she called. "Is someone in there? Are you okay?" Nothing. She stepped closer, leaned down, and knocked on the fabric of the tent like it was a front door. No answer. She looked back at me. I shook my head slowly. My chest was tight. I felt like something was about to snap. And then the zipper twitched. Not opened. Not halfway. Just twitched. Like someone inside had barely touched it. Kenzie jumped back. "Holy shit," she whispered. We stood there frozen. I swear, I could hear her heartbeat. Or maybe it was mine. Either way, it was loud as hell in that silence. Then a voice came from inside. Low, raspy. "Kid, go away." That's it. Just those 2 words. Kenzie grabbed my arm and backed away fast. Neither of us said anything until we were back at our tent, throwing our stuff into bags. She didn't argue. She didn't try to talk through it. And that's when I knew we were in real danger, because Kenzie always talks through things. Always tries to make sense of weird situations. She was the kind of person who read Reddit threads about serial killers and then scoffed about how she'd never fall for something like that. But she was pale, shaking, dead, silent. We packed like we were defusing a bomb. Folded the tent half-assed, shoved the gear into the back of the truck, barely remembered to cut the bear bag down. Kenzie couldn't even get her bootlaces tied right. I did one last scan of the site and was about to close the tailgate when she said, "Wait, did you?" She trailed off and pointed. The granola bar was back, sitting on the stump by the fire pit, the same one we'd left the note under. Still sealed. No wrapper. No rocks. No note. Just the bar. Sitting there, centered. We didn't speak for the next hour. I floored it down that dirt road, scraping the undercarriage on rocks, branches slamming into the windshield. Kenzie kept looking out the rear window like something might be following us. No signal. For miles. Eventually, we made it to a turnout with a sliver of LTE, enough to load Google Maps. But just as I was pulling up directions, something popped up on Kenzie's phone. Airdrop request from unknown. It was trying to send a photo. She looked at me, wide-eyed, and hit decline. Then it popped up again, and again. I turned off the Bluetooth. So did she. It stopped. We pulled into the first gas station. We saw this busted old Chevron with a closed diner next to it, and a flickering sign. I ran inside while she stayed in the truck. There was this old dude behind the counter, bald, thick glasses, stained wife beater. Looked like he'd been standing in that same spot since the 80s. I bought us water, trail mix, and beef jerky. But before I left, I said, "Hey man, you know anyone camping off Forest Road 62, near a dry creek bed, about an hour from here?" He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "Y'all were up there?" I nodded slowly. He licked his lips. "There's a reason we don't mark that trail no more." I said nothing. He leaned in, lowered his voice. "Some guy used to live out there, in a cabin. Went nuts back in the 90s. Started messing with hikers. Real quiet like. Didn't kill him or nothing. Just watched. Moved their stuff around. Left weird notes. That kind of shit. Police found his cabin burned to the ground. No body. Some say he's still up there." I felt something cold creep down my back. I asked what his name was. The guy behind the counter just stared at me, then said, "Don't know. But he never used tents before." We didn't speak much after that. Not during the drive. Not after we checked into this sketchy roadside motel with carpets that smelled like ash and sour towels. Even the walls felt wet. The kind of place with bolted down lamps and a remote missing half the buttons. I didn't care. I just needed a door that locked. Kenzie took a shower and stayed in there for nearly an hour. When she came out, her eyes were red. She didn't talk about what she saw or heard back at the second tent. And I didn't push. I think we both knew talking about it would give it shape, make it stronger. We agreed to head home the next morning. The trip was done. No more forests, no more hikes. Screw the Instagram stories, we didn't post anything after that hike, by the way. Didn't want anyone asking where we were. I didn't sleep that night either. Couldn't stop thinking about what the guy at the gas station said. That the man never used tents before. So what changed? We left early, before the sun came up, when everything outside looked gray and dead. There were a few semi-trucks out on the highway, but not much else. I felt safer in motion. Like if we just kept driving, whatever had attached itself to us would fall off, burn away in the sun. Around noon, we hit a rest stop outside Ellensburg. Clean enough, open air, vending machines. Kenzie got out first and stretched, the first sign of normalcy from her in 24 hours. Her hoodie was rumpled, eyes puffy, but she was trying. While she was in the bathroom, I checked my phone, no notifications, no signal issues, just Spotify still stuck on the last playlist we used while hiking. I hit shuffle without thinking. That's when I saw it. The song playing wasn't anything I recognized. No title, just track 1. Black square is the album art. I didn't even remember downloading anything offline. I tapped it. Nothing happened. Couldn't skip. Couldn't pause. Just this. Sound. Low static. A faint rhythm behind it, like someone breathing slowly through a mask. And underneath all of that, so faint, I almost missed it, a voice, whispering something. I pressed the phone to my ear. It said, "I know where you sleep." I dropped the phone. It clattered to the pavement, the speaker still hissing. I kicked it under the car without thinking. Kenzie came back out a minute later, drying her hands on her jeans. She asked what was wrong, and I lied. Said I dropped my phone trying to change the music. We didn't play anything else the rest of the way. Just silence. And the road. When we got back to Seattle, we didn't go to our apartment. We went to my brother's place, a shitty 1-bedroom, with too many pizza boxes and a TV too big for the wall. He was cool with it. Didn't ask many questions. Kenzie told him I had a weird panic attack during a hike and needed a few days to decompress. That was good enough for him. He handed me a beer and let me crash on his pullout. That night, I locked the front door, then moved a chair under the knob just in case. I wasn't taking chances anymore. Kenzie stayed in the bedroom. Said she couldn't sleep unless she was behind 2 locked doors. Around 2:00 a.m., I had to piss. The kind of urgent, middle of the night piss that punches you in the bladder. I crept down the hallway to the bathroom, trying not to wake my brother. The apartment was dead quiet except for the hum of the fridge and some traffic outside. As I turned the corner, something caught my eye through the peephole in the front door. Just movement. A flicker. I paused, walked over, pressed my eye to the glass. There was a man standing in the hallway. No jacket, just a hoodie. Black. Head down, facing the door. Not moving, not swaying, just there. I backed away fast, knocking over the kitchen stool in the process. It slammed into the counter with a crash. I ran back down the hall and shook my brother awake. Kenzie came out of the bedroom when she heard the noise, eyes wide, already trembling. We checked the peephole again. Nothing. Opened the door. Empty hallway. No sound of retreating footsteps. No echo from the stairwell. Just stillness. I felt my hands shaking and realized I knew that hoodie. The same kind I saw in the woods. The one that stood by our fire pit. The next day, Kenzie's car window was shattered. Nothing was stolen. Her gym bag was untouched. Her sunglasses still hanging from the mirror. But on the driver's seat, the granola bar, same one from the stump, still sealed. We decided to leave the city that day. Go to her parents' place in Boise. I called in sick to work. Didn't say why. Kenzie turned off all her social media. Deleted her hiking app. Burned her trail journal in the sink. We just drove. Didn't talk. Didn't listen to music. Didn't stop until we hit Idaho. That night we stayed in her childhood bedroom, surrounded by old posters and stuffed animals. It felt surreal, like hiding in a stranger's dream. Around midnight, I finally told her what I saw. On the second night, the man standing at our fire pit, not moving. The way he walked back to the tent but never went inside. Her face didn't change. She just stared at me. Then she said, "I saw him too." I asked when. She said, "When I knocked on the tent, I saw him, behind the mesh, watching me, from inches away. He never blinked." I asked why she didn't say anything. Kenzie looked down at her hands, voice hollow, because he smiled at me. We stayed in Boise longer than planned. Kenzie's parents didn't ask many questions, bless them. They were just happy to have her home, even if she looked like a pale shadow of herself. I told them we had a bad scare with some wildlife on the trip, a bear maybe. That was easier than saying, there was a man. He brought a tent. It wasn't there the night before. It didn't matter. That explanation wouldn't fix the way I woke up every hour, certain someone was standing at the foot of the bed. Or the way Kenzie started sleeping with a kitchen knife under her pillow. She didn't want to be alone. Not in a room. Not outside. Not even in the shower. She asked me to sit on the toilet lid while she bathed. At first, I tried to joke about it. So this is our thing now? But the look she gave me shut it down fast. Something had snapped in her, and in me. We were both just pretending not to fall apart. 3 days into our stay, I got a package. No written address, no stamp, no markings. Just a cardboard box on the front porch, like it had been placed there. Kenzie's dad handed it to me. "Hey, your Amazon addiction is catching up," he said, joking. Except I hadn't ordered anything. Neither had Kenzie. Inside the box, a tent stake, one of ours. I recognized the red plastic tip, chewed up on the end where I'd hit a rock trying to hammer it in. We'd lost it the morning we left the campsite. I even made a dumb comment about it, one for the forest gods. Now it was back, in a box, wrapped in wax paper, like a goddamn ritual item. There was something else in the box too, a Polaroid. The old school kind, slightly curled at the edges. I pulled it out with a shaking hand. The photo was of our tent, taken from the tree line. At night, you could see Kenzie's silhouette inside, sleeping, and someone blurred, moving, but visible standing just outside the fabric. Not me. Kenzie started crying when I showed her. I've never felt more helpless in my life than in that moment watching the person I love fall apart. Hands trembling, whispering, "He was there. He was right there." We reported it. Her dad called a friend in the sheriff's office. A deputy came by, took the box, the photo, asked us some questions. Nice guy, in that tired small-town way. Said it was probably someone screwing around. "But how'd they find us here?" I asked. The deputy shrugged. "Could be a delivery prank. You guys share your road trip stuff online?" I shook my head. Not this part. Nothing from that trail. We didn't tag it. Didn't even name it. He nodded slowly. "Still, once something's out there, it's out there." Kenzie was staring out the window the whole time. I don't think she heard a word. After he left, she turned to me and said, "He doesn't understand. This isn't about finding us." "What do you mean?" "He already knows where we are. He's just letting us know he knows." The next day, Kenzie disappeared for 3 hours. She told her mom she was going to Walmart. Left her phone charging in the guest room. I didn't even notice until the sun was setting, and I realized I hadn't heard the car. I was about 5 minutes from calling 911 when she pulled back into the driveway. No groceries, just her. Hair windblown, eyes glassy. I ran out to meet her. "Where the hell did you go?" She didn't answer. Just walked past me, into the house, up to the guest room. I followed her in. She sat on the bed, pulled something from her hoodie pocket, and handed it to me. It was a piece of canvas, faded green and beige. The same fabric as the second tent, burned along one edge. Smelled like old ash and pine. She looked at me and said, "I went back. I couldn't even respond. I felt my knees go weak and had to sit down next to her. I had to, she said. I had to see if it was real. If it was still there. My throat was dry. Was it? Kenzie nodded, slowly, then said something that chilled me straight to the bone. There's more than one now. I begged her to tell me everything. She waited until her parents were asleep, and then she did. Said she left at sunrise and drove straight back to the forest. Used the coordinates from our hike. She remembered every turn, every landmark. She's always had that kind of memory, could retrace her steps even in pitch dark. The truck barely made it down the trail. Trees had overgrown the path in less than a week. Branches where there hadn't been any. Saplings that felt too new to be real. Like the forest had shifted somehow. Grown teeth. She parked where we did last time, and the second tent was still there. But it wasn't alone. There were 4 now. 4 tents, arranged in a loose semicircle. All old, all different. Faded like they'd been out there for years. One of them was ripped along the side. Another sagged like it had collapsed. But you could still see the shape of something inside it. She didn't go closer. She just stood there, watching, listening. She said she heard laughter. Not loud, not joyful. Just this dry, creaking sound that might have been a laugh if you stretched it out and stripped all the warmth from it. Then she saw a figure, not the man in the hoodie. This one was taller, thinner, wearing a red flannel shirt and jeans, barefoot, skin like paper left out in the rain, standing between 2 of the tents. Watching her, he smiled, just like the man in the mesh. Kenzie didn't scream. She didn't run. She said she smiled back, then turned around, walked back to the truck, and left. I think that's what he wanted, she said. He doesn't want to chase us. He wants to be invited. That night I couldn't sleep again. I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, thinking about those tents, about how they seemed to multiply, about the things standing in the woods, about that picture. At 3:12 a.m., Kenzie whispered, "Are you awake?" "Yeah," I said. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then, I think we brought him back with us. I didn't believe her at first. Or maybe I just didn't want to. The idea that he or they could follow us out of the forest, across state lines, into a normal house with walls and locks and neighbors. It felt impossible. But she said it with such certainty. Not fear, not paranoia, certainty. Like she was stating a fact. I think we brought him back with us. I asked what that meant. Kenzie rolled onto her side, pulled the blankets up to her chin, like a kid hiding from a monster, and whispered, "Last night, I heard a zipper." My blood ran cold. I asked her if she was sure, if it wasn't the wind, or someone outside, or it was right next to the bed, she said. I couldn't breathe for a second. The room felt smaller. The shadows felt heavier. She kept going. It wasn't loud. It was slow, right by my ear. Like he was opening something, or coming out of something. She stared at me. "You didn't hear it?" I didn't know what to say, because I had heard something. Not a zipper, exactly more like a rustle, or a slow dragging slide of fabric. I'd chalked it up to her shifting in her sleep. Maybe I'd been half asleep myself, too tired to care. But now that she said it, I remembered. And there was something else. Something I hadn't told her. I dreamed that night. Not a normal dream. I was back in the forest. It was cold. Not snowy, but bitter, biting cold, that crept through my clothes and under my skin. I was barefoot, wearing only a t-shirt and shorts. The trees around me were wrong. Tall, impossibly tall, like cell towers made of bone and bark. In front of me, the tents, dozens of them now, lined up in a spiral, like a labyrinth, made from canvas and rope, each one different. Some new, some ancient and rotting, some half collapsed, eaten by moss, others freshly zipped, with shadows inside. At the center, a fire pit, not lit, just filled with teeth. Hundreds of teeth, human and not. And in the middle, sitting cross-legged on a stump, was the man in the hoodie. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking down at his hands. He was sewing something. Skin. Patches of it. Human, maybe. Or close enough. I tried to scream, but my mouth was full of dirt. When I woke up, I was gasping. My throat was raw. There was soil under my fingernails. Kenzie was already sitting up, staring at the wall, pale as paper. She didn't ask what I dreamed. She just said, "He's showing you too." That day, the air in the house changed. You ever feel like your home just turns on you? Like the walls are watching. Like the corners are too quiet. Like someone's standing just out of view every time you blink. That's what it felt like. The windows were wrong. I swore I'd closed the blinds, but one of them in the laundry room was cracked open, just enough to see out, or in. And there were smudges on the glass, long, greasy fingerprints that didn't match mine or Kenzie's. The backyard motion light kept flicking on. Nothing was out there. No animals, no wind, just silence, and the light and the faint echo of footsteps that never showed up on the dirt. At one point, I opened the coat closet and found pine needles on the floor. We hadn't been in the woods for days. Kenzie's mom found her in the garage that afternoon, just standing there, staring at the wall. She'd lined up all their camping gear backpack, jet boil, headlamps, our sleeping pads, and was packing it like we were about to leave. Except we weren't. There was nowhere to go. Her mom kept asking her what she was doing. Kenzie didn't answer, just kept packing. Focused, robotic, until she held up a small drawstring bag, the one we use for tent stakes, and whispered, "One is missing." Then she started crying. Her mom brought her inside, called a therapist friend. I sat on the edge of the tub while Kenzie showered and kept checking the hallway, half expecting to see that hoodie rounding the corner. That night, I slept in shifts. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every cough from her dad's room, every groan of the old water heater, it all felt deliberate, two-timed. Around 3:00 a.m., I got up to check the front door again. It was locked. I turned to head back to bed when I saw something through the side window. A tent. In the backyard. Not ours. A new one. It hadn't been there before. I ran through the house and out the back door, heart slamming against my ribs. The yard was freezing. The air stank like wet leaves and something metallic. I sprinted toward it. It was the same shape. Same faded green and beige. Same sag along the top. Tipped shut. No footprints in the grass. I stood there, breathing hard, staring at the zipper. My fingers curled into fists. I almost unzipped it. Almost looked inside. But something stopped me. The air was thick. Electric. Like static before a lightning strike, like something was waiting. Then I heard it, from inside the tent. 3 knocks, soft, deliberate. Knock, knock. I backed away, and I swear to God, as I turned around to run back inside, the tent unzipped itself. Just a few inches, just enough to show the edge of a face, grinning. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Sat in the living room with a kitchen knife and my flashlight, and waited for the sun to rise. When it did, I rushed out to the backyard. The tent was gone. No trampled grass, no drag marks. Just a cold circle where the grass had been pressed down. And in the center, a single shoelace. Kenzie's. Bright purple, torn at the tip. She hadn't worn those boots since the trip. She hadn't been outside that night. We left that morning. Dee didn't say goodbye, didn't leave a note, just packed the truck and drove. South. Anywhere. We didn't talk about it. We didn't name it. We just drove. And now, we've been staying in motels, moving every few days. We don't go near forests. We sleep with the lights on, and every time we check into a new place, I look out the window before bed. Every time. Without fail. Because sooner or later, another tent will appear. I don't know where we are anymore. Somewhere in Arizona, I think. One of those no-name towns where everything looks sun-bleached and half-abandoned. There's a broken payphone outside the motel, and a church that rings its bell for nobody. The air smells like rust and heat. We've been running for almost a month now. Kenzie doesn't talk much. She sleeps in fits, if at all. Wakes up screaming sometimes, but not from dreams. She hears things. The zipper, the footsteps, someone whispering her name through the motel wall. I hear them too now, more often. And when I close my eyes, I see tents, endless tents, stretching across the desert, along highways, in alleyways, behind gas stations, in motel courtyards. I see them even in daylight now, just for a blink, a flicker in my peripheral vision, and then they're gone. But I know they were there. They always come back. We tried burning one. We were somewhere near Redding when it happened again. We woke up and there it was pitched behind the dumpster of a Shell station, leaning slightly to the left like it had been thrown up in a hurry. Same colors. Sam dukt tape. Sam smell. Kenzie grabbed the lighter fluid. I grabbed the tire iron. We didn't speak. Just doused it, lit it up, and watched it burn. The fire crackled, and for a second, I thought it was over. Then the screams started. Not human screams, more like a choir of screams, echoing in and out of sync, layered, jagged, like the sound was coming from inside the flames, inside the air, inside us. Kenzie dropped to her knees, covered her ears, started sobbing. I stared into the fire and saw faces, not just the man in the hoodie, others. Faces stitched together, overlapping, all smiling, all watching. When the tent was gone, the ashes formed a perfect circle. In the center, another granola bar, unopened, still fresh. We drove 8 hours straight after that. Didn't stop, didn't speak. Ate gas station jerky and warm Red Bulls, and kept going until the sky turned red behind us. That was 5 nights ago. Tonight, it's happening again. We're in this shitty desert motel with flickering neon that says Vacancy Y, and a room that smells like old soap and bug spray. It's 3:42 a.m. Kenzie's asleep. Finally, mouth slightly open, fingers curled around a pair of scissors she keeps under her pillow. I'm sitting by the window, watching, and I see it. Across the road, behind a dead mesquite tree, in the gravel lot of the burned-out diner. A tent, not green and beige this time. This one is black, shiny, new, larger. It wasn't there earlier, and I swear, it's closer than it was a few minutes ago. Like it's inching forward when I blink, like it's crawling. There's something moving inside, shifting, rolling, stretching, like it's waking up. And I swear to you, I hear it breathing, heavy, ragged, wet, like lungs that haven't tasted air in years. The zipper just twitched. Kenzie is still sleeping. She doesn't know, but I can feel it. This is the last night. We've been running for weeks, trying to outrun a thing that doesn't follow by foot, it follows by memory, by recognition. It's not a man, not just. It's a pattern, a ritual, a sickness that knows your scent once you've stepped into its woods. I think we invited it, by knocking back, by smiling, by going too deep into the places where no one should camp, places not marked on maps for a reason. I think that's all it needs. Not blood, not screams, just acknowledgement, a look, a smile, an answer. Something's outside the door. I hear it now. Not knocking, no, unzipping. From the floor up, the motel door is fabric now. I can't explain that, but I know what it means. I'm not in a room anymore. I'm in a tent. I've been in it this whole time. And the man in the hoodie? He's already inside. There was never just one tent. There's one for each of us. And now, there's one for you. Listen closely. Do you hear the zipper?